All right, so back with another video. Tonight I'm going to be talking about karma, karmic lessons, karmic family members, the first karmic lessons that we are faced with in life that we need to surpass in order to reach the next stage of enlightenment, how to do that, how to look out for the signs to recognize basically that you're in a karmic cycle, and like I said, how to successfully navigate through that. Because for me, it's given me a sense of meaning and also understanding of like, oh, okay, I see. So that wasn't for nothing. You know what I mean? So my whole thing is us as humans, we put meaning to everything, right? And the reality of it is we created it all. So technically we could destroy it all, and technically it's all fake, but it's all real because we made it real. You feel me? So what I'm basically trying to say is that whatever you can add to your life that creates a sense of meaning and purpose and flow, that's enlightenment. You know what I mean? So coming to a place of peace where you can say, hey, you know, if I can put my life, I mean, for me, it fits. So that's the thing. Whether it's real or not, I don't give a fuck because it applies. You know what I mean? So that's where it's like, is it real or not? Does it apply? It's real for you then. Because remember, truth is subjective. Truth is subjective, so it's different depending on who you are, but let's be real, there's also some truths that are objective, which I'm not going to go into at this point, right now, right here, but like I said, I'm going to talk about karma. So, what is karma? Karma is essentially the consequences of what you put out into the world, and what is reflected back to you via, like, every action has an equal and opposite reaction type deal. So basically what I'm trying to say is that, you know, it's about energy. That's literally what it is. We're talking about the law of attraction. We're talking about manifestation. What you put out there, what you imagine, what you will into reality will exist. And so, therefore, you basically like create your own path, your own karma via... Where was I going with that? I was really going down the rabbit hole in my mind, but I couldn't like verbalize it, if that makes sense. So hang on, because that shit was, yeah, that was like deeper than word. All right, so basically, when we're talking about karma, like I said, it's about energy. What you put out there, you get back, because it's the law of attraction. What you say, you attract to you. This has happened to me many times. I've imagined myself in certain work positions. I've manifested relationships. I've manifested job. Wait, I just said that. You know, shit like that. And, you know, I've heard other people who have done this as well. So my point in saying that is, especially if you're a Cancer, shout out to the Cancers in this bitch. But for real. Like, yeah, like... The other thing with manifestation is, like, obviously taking steps towards the manifestation. You can't just, like, you know, it's that whole saying of you can't just pray and hope for a miracle. Like, no, like, you still have to take action towards that. You can't sit on your couch and be like, I hope I get $1 million and never leave your house, and then be like, fuck, my life sucks. And it's like, well, you know, you prayed for it, but you never left the house, so we couldn't give it to you. Crickets. Anyway, basically, I'm just going to share the story that I love to share. Not the story. I hate that terminology, because someone's life is not a story, it's reality. So let me restate that. Big L, his reality, the reality of what happened to him. And this is, it's the perfect example of karma. The other thing about karma, I'm going to get into that in just a second, is that one thing to remember is I think a lot of times we attach this meaning of like good karma, bad karma, and people, really emphasize that. But I just came to this insight the other day and I wrote it down in my phone and I was like, my mind was blown, not only on a mental level, but like I felt it emotionally, like I understood it on a deeper cellular level, like I felt it. And I was like, whoa. Because like sometimes you can get into the rut of, and I'm not going to go towards the mental health aspect of things because I, again, don't want to get too deep, but sometimes basically it's neutral, or not neutral. Karma is basically just the reflection of what you've put out. So essentially, it's either of higher or lower vibration. So Big L, a rapper who was, a conscious rapper from the 90s who was big on talking about and advocating for, the youth, also like getting youth into more productive, proactive, pro-social types of interests, and I don't know why I'm hearing this, future forward endeavors. Okay. Sorry, sometimes I like channel things because I'm a bit tapped in. So anyway, point in saying this is Big L, incredible rapper, look him up. I cannot say enough. So anyway, a voice for the community. He was shot in the head and killed on Lenox Ave in New York City. And 20 years later, the man who shot him and killed him was shot in the head and killed on the same exact street, Lenox Ave. 20 years later, I don't know if I just mentioned that, I probably did. I mean, mic drop. Nothing more needs to be said about that. That is karma. I mean, one could look at that and say also like, well, maybe it's also just people who knew Big L that were getting back at this motherfucker because they knew who killed him. But still, that's karma. Because what you put out there, you're going to get an equal and opposite reaction, which is going to be just as intense of what you put out. The opposite reaction is not you shooting, they're shooting. Yeah, that's karma. So regardless, I mean, if you want to look at the logic of it too, but the spiritual component is who gives a fuck who did it? I mean, in the sense of 20 years later, yeah, I don't know. My point in saying that is to say that karma, especially when you commit that heinous of a crime, especially towards somebody who is a chosen one, which I do believe, I mean, I can't say for sure, but yeah, like one sign of chosen ones or divine masculine or feminines is that they tend to stand out in their community or their demographic or their background. So like there's something about them that sets them apart from what the quote unquote status quo would be. That's their job. They're an earth angel. They're here to send a message. That's why I said voice to the community, because he was a voice to the community, because he was an earth angel. He was here to spread the word, to help people get off the streets. But the reason he was an effective earth angel is because he was of that life. So it had a bigger impact. It had a bigger, boom factor on people, essentially, that, he was carrying out the divine's mission, in my opinion, because I mean, you're going against society, you're going against not against your community, but their thought process, which might be not even threatening, but just could be. So my point is, a lot of times chosen ones and earth angels have certain challenges that are posed to them within their environments that require them to step outside of the norm. And I mean, I don't know a ton about Big L, but just based on what I do know, I mean, I love his music, the way he spoke, carried himself, he was brilliant in his approach. I mean, just the whole idea of it, like, that's brilliant. Don't become a teacher, become a rapper and speak directly to the kids that are actually fucking listening to you because they want to. Brilliant. So karmic lessons. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with karmic lessons is that they start within our family of origin. The first karmic lesson that we have is within our family of origin. And that karmic lesson is breaking free of the dynamics that we are, I heard, enlisted to. Basically, because it's a trap. It's like, and I think in society in general, we're breaking free from this kind of as a whole, in a sense. I mean, just on an individual level, there's healing being done and whatever, boundaries being set, things like that are shifting the dynamics. But I think that is exactly the karmic lesson in and of itself. So our family of origin is the first karmic lesson that we face in this lifetime. And it's, like I said, breaking free from those patterns that you learn, those trauma patterns, fears of abandonment, rejection, attachment issues, how you, tradition, values, how you view the world, perceive the world, how you perceive yourself, and getting to a place where you're able to step outside of that dynamic and see yourself for who you are and who you were as a soul, as a spirit, before you were given this 3D existence, if that makes sense, like really tapping into who you are, essentially. That got a little deep and woo-woo and shit, but if we don't pass those initial karmic lessons, we get basically stuck in the same cycles and patterns in adulthood, not only in our adult relationships, but we tend to maintain a sense of, okay, so this is how you know that you haven't completed a karmic lesson or cycle with family members. Are you still enmeshed with said family members? Is there codependency going on with said family members? Are you walking on eggshells with said family members? Are you afraid to be yourself? Are you doubting yourself, questioning your perception? If you're still doing those things, you're probably either in the process or have not yet healed those wounds. And that's okay, because it's a process. Obviously we've got to unlearn certain things and relearn healthier behaviors. But the objective really is just to be aware and to know that, oh, okay, so there's a purpose for this. It's for me to learn and for me to be enlightened and awakened so that I can heal myself and get to a higher level of consciousness. One that usually surpasses your family of origin. That's how you know you've passed that initial lesson with the karmics in your family of origin. Because again, like I said, the first karmic lesson is our family, because our family is karmic. What does that mean? I kind of want to do some fucking research on that shit, because I just think that basically means like effects or causes and effects. Like, they're karmic, meaning there's a lesson there, and whatever you do or do not do is going to have certain consequences to it if you choose to learn the lesson versus if you choose not to learn the lesson. So I think, so how do you battle or have a positive outcome or get to the place you want to be as far as healing these things and completing these karmic lessons? Doing the inner work, meaning really digging deeper into these patterns that you were taught growing up and challenging these things within yourself and these things that have impacted your view of yourself, your perception of yourself, your belief in yourself. And basically, when you know that you've completed the karmic cycle with your family of origin, when you get to a place where there is no sense of obligation, there's no sense of, oh my gosh, I'm walking on eggshells, somebody's gonna, bite my head off. There's no sense of fear of, what's the word? I don't know why I'm hearing retribution. I don't think that's the right word. I think what I'm trying to say is, there's no fear of like repercussion of, oh man, if I do this, it's like, you've healed that because basically when you heal the karmic lesson, you have advocated for yourself, you've set boundaries, you've said, hey, this is who I am outside of you guys, and you need to respect that, to the point where it shifted the dynamic to where you are empowered now, and you, how do I put this? You recognize your own light, essentially, instead of trying to get others, and especially those in your family of origin, to see it within you, or to approve it within you, or to validate it within you. You've completed the karmic cycle when you legit don't give a fuck. And it's not on an unhealthy level, it's on a level of, hey, I love you, I care about you, I'll send you on your way, and I'm gonna go over here and chill the fuck out and live my life. And I hope you chill the fuck out and live your life too, and peace, brother and sisters. Like, for real. Like, that's the vibe. It's like, I mean, I'm not saying there's not gonna be fear there, I'm not saying there's not gonna be challenges, things like that, but like, I'm just saying there won't be as much tension. It's kind of like the air will be sort of cleared, and it's kind of just like everybody knows where you stand. And so therefore the pattern can't go back to what it was, because you can't go back to that place where you were previously unenlightened or unawakened or unaware of the things that these people were doing, or that you were doing, or everybody was doing to contribute to the deterioration of your well-being. So, and I don't know, that's kind of strong. I guess I'm only saying that to say that that's why, because family members are karmics, because part of it too is like their lessons. So like there's certain dynamics and patterns within family of origins that are toxic or dysfunctional, or rooted in codependency, rooted in dysfunctionalism, rooted in alcoholism. And so therefore these karmic lessons are sent to teach us how to be our true authentic selves, right? The next karmic lessons that we come across are, can be friendships. They can be romantic relationships in particular. And in these connections, what happens? So basically, I tell people that, the dynamics and the patterns that you not only witnessed, but also, learned as the norm, or learned to fit within in order to survive in those environments, are the same patterns that tend to pop up in adulthood. And it's interesting because healing your karmic family of origin wounds tends to start happening at the same time that you get into serious romantic relationships. And then it's like, that's kind of the catalyst for the healing of the family of origin wounds, but then also you sometimes have the other challenges of the karmic relationships that you get into that could be abusive, that could be repeating patterns from childhood, where it's like, I thought that I had healed this, but actually, let me restate that. That's where, that is healed. That's why that pops up in adulthood. It's not like you heal these, karmic ties or connections or wounds in childhood. No, those are where they're developed. in adulthood is where you go on and you start healing those, and you start, and typically within romantic relationships, but also friendships as well. And so basically what happens is these patterns start to pop up again. And basically the objective is finding a different way to deal with them in a more healed, healthy way that respects yourself and the other person involved, if possible. I mean, I guess it's always possible now that I think about it. But anywho, so yeah, I think the other thing with karmic lessons that I wanted to touch upon is that, if you don't learn these karmic lessons, if you don't face these unhealthy or toxic family of origin patterns and dynamics that are impacting your personal life and your adult relationships, what happens is basically in adulthood, and I teach this again in therapy sessions, it's kind of it's interconnected basically, where it's like you keep repeating the same patterns because energetically you are tied to that pattern. And so part of the healing work is not just physical, it's not just emotional, it's not just mental, but it's energetically speaking as well. So detaching from those patterns and saying, wait a second, that's not me. But, and that's easier said than done. It's like, well, how do you do that? Well, a lot of healing work, for one. So long story short, if you don't work through these things and heal some of these wounds and complete these karmic cycles and learn these karmic lessons, that's when the karma ensues in your life. In order to up-level and become more enlightened and awakened and reach the next level of consciousness, you have to be willing to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. You have to be willing to break these generational patterns and curses that are impacting us on a personal level, and basically finding a way to stop those same patterns of trauma from childhood and create a healthier dynamic. One where there's, a balanced power dynamic. So I think that might be all I have to say as far as karma, karmic lessons, etc., etc. The thing about karmic lessons is if you don't learn the lesson, what ends up happening is you repeat the same pattern, you repeat the same cycle in adulthood over and over and over again. So you might have a breakup with someone and then you get in a relationship and it's like, holy shit, it's the same fucking thing. Is this that one fucking movie where it's Christmas every fucking day? No. You didn't complete the karmic cycle in the lesson, and on the 3D level, it's because you didn't heal the trauma pattern or the wound that runs deep from childhood. So that is the objective, is to heal, to look at past traumas and to look at what is it that I need to do to heal myself, to up-level myself, to become a better version of myself so that I can create a life of peace and I can sustain a sense of karma that is not even necessarily good or bad, but in alignment with what is in the highest vibration, connected to the Most High, your higher self, you.